So maybe rock yourself from side to side a little bit and get nice and settled on your sitting bones. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable. And just start to pay attention to your breath. See if you can feel it just running up and down your spine. Slowly and gently inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. So feeling your belly fill, maybe even sticking one hand on your belly to make sure we're not reverse breathing. So you want your belly to fill on the inhale and gently pull toward the spine on the exhale. Rib cage is nice and supple. So you can just keep your eyes closed and listen, but or you're welcome to float them open. So yoga has its own kind of set of 10 commandments called the yamas and the niyamas. And they're actually the first 2 steps in what's like an 8-step program to yoga, which is really a life well lived. So this week we're going to talk about the yamas. It's kind of the reverse of the 10 commandments. So the first 5 of the 10 commandments are about our relationship with God or the divine or the universe, whatever you want to call that. We'll call it God. And then the other 5 are how to relate to others. In the yamas, the first 5 are how to relate to others. And then how to live a good life in relationship to God. And I've got one more person I need to let in, so just keep breathing. So the first of the 5 yamas are ahimsa, do no harm, nonviolence, and satya, or truth-telling. And they're kind of like the twin sisters. So I'm telling you all this so that you can set an intention, right? So the nonviolence is not helplessness, but it is a way of relating to yourself and others, to your environment. And the bottom line here is truthfully that ultimately you will treat others the same way you treat yourself. So there's a nugget to chew on. And the twin sister, satya, truth-telling. Not so much about not telling a small lie, but really more being your authentic self. And in the yoga tradition, there were kind of 4 distinct stages of a life. The first would be, of course, childhood, growing up and learning how to do a skill that you're interested in and show ability in. The second stage would be using that skill to participate in family life and support family. The third stage, interestingly, is where yogis really got serious and they went off into the wilderness and just cultivated solitude, silence, and wisdom. And then the last stage was going back to the community to share what they had learned. So you might want to think about where you are in your life and are you living your authentic self? What I love is that these 2 little nuggets can be just your practice, just how you treat yourself on your mat. Or it could be something much larger in your life. Same with the truth-telling. It could be really just about what's going on in your body this 1 hour, 45 minutes that we have. Or it could really be about your whole stage of life. So if you've had any thought around that information that you'd like to set as your intention for this time, it could be how you treat your body, it could be how you treat a particular person in your life. It could be a way that you can be more authentic in your practice or beyond. So set your attention and then just come right back to your breath. So we'll start by gently warming the spine. We're going to start with the head and the neck. So if it's okay with your spine, just drop your chin to your chest. Maybe you'll even feel those muscles down the back, down either side of your bones, gently stretching. If it's safe, really let your head be heavy, but keep your spine super long. And then on an inhale, center your head right back over your shoulders. So in general, I'll try to be your mirror, not mixing up the left and rights too much, which I'm an expert at. On an exhale, take your right ear to your right shoulder. Again, keeping your spine long. And if you want to, you could take that arm and just gently cup the top ear and get a little bit more of a stretch. So keep using your low belly to support your spine. Good. Inhaling, gently release. And on your exhale, we'll go to the other side. Just noticing the difference one side to the other. Maybe you want to go ahead and take your hand on your ear. One breath. And then inhaling, gently release. So we'll start by looking over your right shoulder, and then inhale, get really, really tall, and take your right shoulder back. Inhale, get really, really tall again, and take your rib cage around. Maybe you take your left hand to the knee, opposite knee. Get a little more leverage with your hands. So on your inhales, just get nice and tall. And on your exhales, relax your legs and your hips, but deepen your twist. One more time, inhale, get nice and tall. And exhaling, deepen your twist. And releasing, come on back to center. So we're gonna go right to that side, just an easy side stretch. So plant your right hand, right? Inhale, get really, really long. Take that other arm up overhead. Feel like somebody's pulling on your fingertips. They're in the air. And then see if you can go a little deeper, just nice and gentle, like you're squished between two pieces of glass. Just using those exhales to soften, rooting that opposite hip. And inhaling, come on back up to center. So just take a breath and notice the difference, one side of the body and then the other. Right? So if you didn't notice anything one side to the other, maybe you can go a little bit deeper on the next side. Just be mindful. So on an inhale, we're just going to take our nose over our shoulder, other way. So on your next inhale, get tall, and then rotate your shoulder. And on your next inhale, get even taller, and see if you can take your ribs around, maybe using your hands for some leverage. And a couple more breaths. So inhaling deeply, maybe you can exhale into the twist a little bit more. And then come on back to center. All right, so good for our spines, our whole body, all those nerves that run through our spinal column. So take your hand out to the side a little bit. Really get long, feel like somebody's pulling on that top arm. And then use your exhales to settle a little bit. Nice, and inhaling, come on back up to center. Good, and then we're gonna come to all fours, so if you wanna pad your knees, grab a towel or a blanket. So as we go through this practice, I want to suggest that you find 2 or 3 things that really made you feel good, stretched, and do them tomorrow at some point as well. So my hands are right under my shoulders. My fingers are spread really, really wide, like Spider-Man hands. That's going to help protect the wrists. So push into the thumb side of your hand, and on an inhale, take your tailbone and the crown of the head upward. So make this more about the front rib cage, really stretching those rib cage muscles, not so much the low back. And then exhale, drop the tailbone.
And then let the head drop and pull the mid back up if it's safe for your spine. Do that a few more times, just moving with your breath, inhaling arch. And exhaling, hollow out. And inhaling arch. And exhaling, hollow out. One more time, inhaling arch. And exhaling, hollow out. And then come right back to neutral. And take that left leg straight out behind you. All right, so if your mat is mirroring mine, be your left leg. Okay, so we're just going to keep the leg here, pull the low belly in, find one place to gaze, maybe the edge of your mat, front edge of your mat, and then think about taking the opposite thumb to the ceiling. So heel up, thumb up. Use your steady gaze to help you balance. One more breath. If your mind wanders, notice where it goes and bring it back to your intention. And exhaling, gently release. Just go ahead and rock your hips from side to side. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So right heel out or the other leg. Toes point straight down. Chest nice and lifted. And then think about taking the other thumb to the ceiling. Heel up, thumb up. Deep breaths. Nice, and exhale, gently release the knee and the hand down. Go ahead and rock your hips from side to side again. Okay, so we're going to do some little mini sun salutations. So you're going to walk your hand about one hand length forward of your shoulders, and then take the other hand out. Fingers are still spread wide. Then when you bring your shoulders back over your wrists, you lengthen out from your knees out through the crown of the head. So yoga push-up, right? You're taking your tailbone toward your heels, squeeze your elbows in, and see if you can get your chest and chin to the mat before your hip points, those little headlights. And then let your hips drop down. Nice. So push the tops of your feet into the mat. Many of you heard me say strong legs make strong back bends. Drop your elbows, and using just your back muscles, lift your shoulders and look at the front edge of your mat. And exhale, forehead to the mat. Then we're going to reverse our yoga push-up, right? So squeeze your elbows into your ribs. See if you can get your hips up first. Pushing through those triceps takes a lot of core, and then we're going to exhale right back to a child's pose. So work on taking your hips toward your heels. So this is a great place to use a prop, right? You could, if your knees have less mobility, you could take a block between your hips and your heels. It's got a couple different settings, right? And that's a way to feel fully supported and not tax your knees too much. Or you could take the block and put it under your forehead. All right? Just want to find some place where you can feel completely supported in this pose, right? And then take 3 deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the nose. 2 more times. Do a little body scan, see if you can find some place to release tension. Maybe it's your jaw. Maybe it's your forehead. Maybe it's your hips. Good, so reach your arms way far forward again. Might have to walk them forward a little bit. We're going to lengthen out in that modified plank push-up again. Squeeze your elbows in. And exhale, chest and chin down to the mat. When your hips get down, push the tops of your feet into the mat. Drop the elbows and slowly inhale, cobra or back bend. And exhale. So just move with the breath, squeeze your elbows in, come back to your modified plank. Pull your low belly in to take your hips back towards your heels. Just 2 breaths this time. Pull your low belly in. Come back to that modified plank pose. Adjust your hands if you need. Eventually you get to the point where you kind of keep your hands where they need to be, right? Squeeze your elbows in and exhale, chaturanga again. Push the tops of the feet into the mat. Drop your elbows and inhale. Gently lift your shoulders. Nice. Exhaling, forehead to the mat. Squeeze your elbows in and reverse that push-up one more time. Exhaling back to child's pose just for one deep breath. Pull the low belly in and inhale, come on up to all fours. So we're gonna bring the right knee forward. Again, keep that knee padded if it's helpful. Grab a hold of a block. Helps make your arms longer. All right, just gonna drop your hips way down and forward. So just a couple of key alignment things, right? The knee should always stay right over the ankle, right? So you don't ever wanna let your knee get beyond your toes. Too much pressure on the knee joint, right? Good, so maybe bringing your hands to the thigh. Okay, so some of you've got me, I'm good, right? And then drop your hips even more forward as you sweep your arms forward and then up over your head. Try and make your spine longer, longer, right? Nice. Take a breath here. And exhale, hands back to the mat. So we're gonna curl your back toes under. I wanna encourage you to have a book or chair or block, something that'll make your arm longer. You're gonna curl those back toes under, lift your hips into a high lunge, and then pull your low belly in and see if you can start to straighten that front leg, only as far as it'll go, right, safely. Just an easy hamstring stretch, right? One more breath. Push into that big toe mound especially, really rooting that foot. And exhale, right back into high lunge, float that back knee down. Good, release the foot, go into all fours. And we're gonna go straight to the other side. So moving your prop, knee right over the ankle, drop your hips down. Hands to the thigh. Make sure you're nice and stable. If you're feeling wobbly, you gotta move your foot out to the edge of the mat a little bit. That'll give you a wider base. Right. And sweep your arms forward. Lots of energy, and then take your fingertips up in the air. Root that front foot. Just think about making your spine longer. Nice. And then pull the low belly and exhale, hands to the mat. Curling those back toes under. Use your core muscles to lift that back thigh. Then as you pull the belly in, see if you can get your hips up and back. So this side might be completely different, right? Push into that big toe mound. Try and keep your hips level. Couple of breaths here. So now we're going to bring our knee right over the ankle, but this time we're going to scoot our back foot to meet the front. So you can take 10, 15 little baby steps or take one big step. So eventually you want to get your feet about 2 fist widths apart. You're sitting down into your heels, right? Rest your hands on your thigh. And then come to standing with a straight spine. Crown of the head leading upward, and then inhale. Take your fingertips up. Get your palms to meet over your head. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Good. So again, we're going to sit down into that imaginary chair, right back where we came from. So wiggle your toes and drop your hips. So one of the things I love about yoga is it's like golf. We can all play together. It doesn't matter our ability level. So take your left hand to your hip and take your right arm and stick it outside your thigh. Maybe you go even deeper and you get your elbow to the outside of your thigh. Check in with your knees and make sure they're still level. You don't want that right knee jutting forward. And maybe bring your palms together. So if you know of a way to go deeper into this pose, feel free. I'm going to stay right here today, just keeping my spine nice and long. Nice, and then gently release the twist, bring your hands to your thighs, lift your hips and reach the crown of the head forward, so we're in an upside down L. Really engage your quadricep muscles, that'll help release the hamstrings. Just giving our quads a little bit of a break here, wiggle your toes. And on an exhale, we're gonna sit down into our heels again. We're gonna twist the other side, so I'm just gonna turn around so I don't have my back to you. Right, so we take the right hand to the hip. And maybe you take your forearm, maybe it's your elbow, bringing your palms together. So wherever you can do this safely. Nice. Couple more breaths. And once again, releasing the twist, hands to the thighs, crown of the head out long, hips come up. So nice straight spine. Soften the knees and sweep your fingertips forward. Come back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Bring your palms together and exhale your hands to your heart. Nice. Then inhale, take your arms up in the air again. And then turn them facing out. We're just going to gently swan dive forward, so soften your knees. So remember that if you have any eye issues, eye pressure, things like glaucoma or uncontrolled high blood pressure, you should be very careful about dropping your head below your heart. But if you're able to, let your head really hang like a rag doll. Knees can stay soft. And inhale, sweep your fingertips under your knees, coming back to that half forward fold. And then exhale, bend your knees, take that left leg way back in high lunge. And then float the back knee down, front knee still over the ankle, right? And come on back to all fours. And then walk your hands forward, that one hand length, so that we do our little mini flow again. Inhaling, shoulders over the wrists. Right, we pull that low belly in. You could be on your toes if you want, right? And exhaling, chaturanga push-up down to the mat. Use your legs and gently inhale, back bend. Right, just posing and counter posing. Exhale, forehead to the mat. Then reverse your version of a push-up. Right back onto the knees. Without moving the hands, curl the toes under and see if you can lift your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Right, so basically we're an upside down V, right? Push your body weight off your wrists. Keep your fingers spread wide. Just let your head hang between your upper arms. Take one deep breath. And then pull your low belly and float your knees down. No noise, just let your knees hover, hover, hover until they get down to the mat. And then we're going to bring that left leg forward. So we're coming back to standing through high lunge on the other side. Lift that back knee. And scoot, scoot, scoot. Back foot comes to meet the front, 2 fist widths apart. So this time, if it's okay with your spine, we're going to drop our hips into our heels. Give your shoulders a little shake and roll up one vertebra at a time. Remember, you're your own best teacher. On an inhale, take your fingertips up in the air. Get the palms to meet, and exhale, bring your hands to your heart center. So one-legged balance. You could go to a wall, hold on to the wall, or grab a chair. All right, so better to get onto one leg and hold on to something than to use your other foot for balance. So let's shift your weight into your left leg. And take your right foot up. So it could stay on the calf. You could lift it up so the heel is above the knee and the toe is just resting there, just no weight on the knee. Or you could pull it all the way up into the inner thigh. So here's a couple of things that'll help you balance. Come back to your breath. Don't watch me. I'm wobbling, right? So find your breath and use your eyes, just gazing at one thing that's not moving. Really see it. Beautiful. When you're ready, come on out. Go ahead, just walk it out. So then we come right back to Tadasana, and we'll go to the other side. So shifting your weight into your right leg. Decide where you want to put the foot. Hopefully you do the same thing on both sides. One more breath. And when you're ready, exhaling, gently release. Okay, so we're going to take a big wide straddle, work some warrior poses. In fact, I think we'll do warrior 2, warrior 1, and warrior 3. Okay, so my feet are so wide, if you can get there, that maybe your ankles are right under your wrists. Right? And then bring your hands back to your hips and turn your right heel in and your toes out. So if we took a piece of chalk and drew a line down your mat, your heel would meet your arch, right? Inhale and get really tall, and then exhale, take that right knee right out over the middle of the foot so you can still see your big toe, so the knee's going to the back side of the body. Again, it's a place where we don't want the knee to go beyond the foot, so if you need to make your stance wider, you can go a little deeper. Right? Shoulders stack right over the hips, and then take your arms out. So finding a place where you can sustain it, right? For 3 deep breaths. Especially push into the outer edge of the foot of your straight leg, and that'll help protect the knee. Good, and inhale, go ahead and straighten. All right? And then bring those toes right back to center. So we'll do the pose on both sides before we move on. So take the left toes pointing straight out, heel to arch alignment. Exhaling. Knee right over the middle of the foot. You can still see your big toe. Spread your feet wider if you need, and then take your arms out. Really squeeze those tricep muscles. Pushing into the feet. Come back to that intention you set. Remember, how you treat yourself is ultimately how you treat everyone. One more deep exhale. And inhaling, go ahead and straighten. And turn those toes out again. And we're going to heel toe our way in about 2 or 3 times so that you're maybe 2.5, 3 feet apart. And then you're going to turn all 10 toes back to the right. The back foot, they go diagonally out. The front foot, they're putting straight to the short edge of your mat. But if I look down now, my heels are still kind of in line, and I don't want that because that's not a very wide base. So I'm going to walk my front foot out to the edge of the mat a little bit, and now I've got some space, got a wider base, right? So it shouldn't be any pain in the knee. If you have very delicate knees, you might want to just lift that back heel. Again, you're going to need a wide, a little space so that you're not on a balance beam. So my hip points are pointed right toward the front of the mat, my shoulders as well. I'm going to exhale, take my knee right over the middle of the foot again. So if you want to go deeper, you can stretch your stance out again. I'm going to wrap this hip around, right? So it's kind of it's an awkward pose, asymmetrical. Then take your fingertips and sweep them right up by your ears so you can get your arms nice and long. Take a couple of breaths. Good, and inhaling. Straighten that front leg, bring your hands back to your hips. And we're going to turn our toes back around. All right, so just even your feet out so we can start again on the other side. All right, turn all 10 toes to the left. The back foot goes diagonally out. I'm going to scoop my front foot over to the edge of the mat for some steadiness. And then turn my hips forward. And then exhale and take that knee right over the middle of the foot. Right. This is really good for our posture. Just keep your fingertips up. This is actually a pose that one of my teachers teaches for herniated discs in your low back. Nice. Couple breaths. And then slowly, gently inhaling, bring your hands to your hips. And come on back around. So while we're here, I think we'll do goddess pose. Just turn your toes out. My heels are slightly wider than hip width apart. I'm going to exhale, take my knees right out over the toes, so don't roll in on your arches. Take your knees to the back side of your mat. And then take your palms out and fold your hands toward your ears, and maybe you can go a little bit deeper. So building strength and calm. Maybe learning to be with a little bit of discomfort. One more breath. And then on your inhale, straighten back into that 5-pointed star. And turn your toes in. So the safest way to get back with your feet under you is to just heel toe evenly so you're not wrenching your sacrum. Okay, so we're going to do Warrior 3 Bikram style with a step forward. So you definitely might want to have a hold on to the wall or a piece of furniture to the side or in front of you. So we're going to start, take your arms up overhead, interlace your fingers, and then release your index fingers like Charlie's Angels fingers. So that in this pose, you really want to keep your body one straight line. So take your right foot, point it forward like a ballerina, and then take a big step forward onto that foot. So you only want to go as far as your back leg goes up, your body comes forward. Your back leg goes up a little, your body comes forward. Find one place to rest your gaze. So we're like a seesaw. Maybe you eventually get to look like a capital T. All right, use that one place to rest your gaze. And you're going to come right back out of it the way you went in. Step backwards and bring yourself back to Tadasana. Not an easy pose, but worth it. So let's try the other side. Point your left toes. Take your fingertips up. Draw your upper arms back by your ears and take a big step forward. Decide where you're going to set your gaze. And then heel comes up, wrists go down a little. This may be right where you need to stay today. Heel comes up, wrists go down a little. So I'm going to cheat just so I can see how you guys are doing. Nice, beautiful. Just keep that one long line. Doesn't matter where it is. And come on back up, step back out of it, and come back to Tadasana. Awesome, well done. Okay, and then come back to the front of your mat. Release your hands, maybe take your shoulders up behind your ears, roll them back down. Take a breath. Just feel all that great energy you created in your body. When you're ready, inhaling, take your arms up. Soften your knees and gently dive forward. Again, if you're able to hang in a forward fold completely, you can keep your knees soft. Take a couple of breaths here. And inhale, halfway up, fingertips under the knees. Exhaling, bend the knees. Take that left leg way back in high lunge again. Front knee over the ankle, float the back knee down, and come on back to all fours. Right. And then we're simply going to come to seated, so flip your feet to one side so that you can come onto your hips. Okay. So we're going to do a couple of twists and a little bit of core. So I'm going to start with my right foot crossed over my left leg. If you have trouble with your knees, you can stretch your bottom leg out in front of you. This is also a place where if your hamstrings are really tight and your hips are tight and you have a hard time sitting up, then you can sit on a block or a blanket or even do this in a chair, right? We just want to make the shape with our body. So sit up really, really tall. Same thing with the twist, right? Exhaling, twist a little bit. Toward your top leg, inhale, get tall. Exhale, twist a little bit more. So as you twist away from that top foot, keep pushing that top foot into the floor. Activating your inner thigh. So go to your deepest point in the twist and stay there for one full breath. And then exhaling, gently release. Good. So we're going to cross that top foot right over the bottom leg, basically building a triangle. Again, if your hips are really tight, you might want to sit up and try this in a chair instead. So the goal is to have kind of like an isosceles triangle. Our shins are pretty much parallel to the edge of the mat. And it might be everything you can do to sit up tall and not grimace, right? Eventually, maybe, I'm not there, it's a journey, right? Keep your feet flexed, that'll help protect the knees. Eventually, maybe your top knee is resting on that bottom ankle. Just keep on breathing. Keep that foot flexed back, toes toward the knee, and that'll help protect the knees all in one line. Now, if you're okay here, maybe you want to start to walk your hands forward. So wherever you are, just take a few deep exhales into that hip joint. Hip work always reminds me of Satya, truthfulness, right? They say we carry a lot of our emotional baggage in our hips. Probably stuff we don't even know we carry around all day. And then use your hands to gently lift yourself up, rock back onto your hips, and go ahead and just plant your feet. And we're just going to easily windshield wiper those knees from side to side a little bit. Just kind of feel the difference in the hip joint. Good. So then we'll go the other way. So now, right knee forward, left leg crosses over. You can always stretch that bottom leg out in front if it's helpful. Try and get both hips right planted on the ground. Sit up really, really tall. And then exhale, start your twist. Toward that top leg, inhale, get tall. Exhaling, twist. Soften the hips. Use your back muscles. Keep the shoulders level. Relax the jaw, and when you get to your deepest point in your twist, take a breath. And then gently release. All right, so we're going to stack those bones. Shins parallel to the edge of your mat. Again, I'm keeping my feet flexed, and that helps protect the knee. Keeping the foot in line with the shin.
This side might be different, right? So wherever you are, just gonna sit up really tall. Use your exhale to soften. Maybe you go a little forward. So you can always do this with the bottom leg stretched out in front still, right? You can make like that number 4. Whatever works for your body. That's part of the truth telling. Couple more breaths. Nice. Pull your low belly in. Use your hands to uncurl yourself. Now rock back on your hips, plant your feet again, just so we can notice what the other hip feels like now. Oh, that felt pretty good. Okay. Good. So come back to all fours. We're going to thread the needle. Get a nice little shoulder stretch. We're going to spread the hands really wide, right? Take that right arm up in the air. And then take it underneath your body. My hips are still pretty much right over my knees, right? You're going to walk your hand way under your body until maybe your head, your ear drops onto the mat, or maybe onto a block. So you got some options. You could take that top arm and wrap it behind your back, looking for the hip crease on the other side. You could walk that top arm way forward and push that elbow toward the mat, keeping the arm straight. Maybe try one variation and then the other. And really working on softening shoulder joint, back muscles. So if you've got your arm in one place, maybe you want to try the other place now. So on inhale, you're going to bring that top hand right back by your nose. Listen to my voice as you push yourself up. Don't put that any weight on that arm yet. Take it back up in the air. Just nice, easy twist. Open up that shoulder capsule. And exhaling again, bring the hand back down. We'll go right to the other side. So pull your low belly in. Inhaling, taking the left arm up. And then exhale. Thread it way under your body. Front side. And decide where you want to put your top arm. Maybe it's forward, maybe it's behind you, maybe you just leave it right by your nose for support. Settle in. Maybe you want to switch the position of your arm for a couple of breaths. Be sure that you're honoring your intention. And bring that top hand right by your nose. And again, before you put any weight on that shoulder, take the arm up in the air and just release the shoulder capsule. And exhale back to all fours. And once again, come to seated. Plant your feet right in front of you. So we're going to roll ourselves down to the mat to the count of 10.
So make sure you do this safely. If that means using your hands for support, do that. Or maybe you want to take your hands forward. Or maybe you want to challenge yourself and start in boat pose with your shins up. So remember, you're your own best teacher. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And just let everything go. Take a big, deep inhale. And exhale out your mouth with a ha sound. Do that a couple more times. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling. Last one. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Nice. And then gently bend those knees. Just do an easy series of bridge pose. So bend your knees, perhaps you can touch your heels with your fingertips. Tuck your shoulder blades together and push the tops of your arms into the mat. And push your big toe into the mat and inhale, lift your hips. And exhale, go ahead and drop them down. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Inhale, lift your hips, root your feet, knees still right in line with the hips, over the toes. Exhale, drop them down. One more time. Inhale, lift your hips. Exhale, drop them down and take a breath. So a couple of options to go a little bit deeper if you want. You could just do what we did a couple more times, or you could inhale, lift your hips and tuck your shoulder blades closer together so that you can interlace your hands in a fist underneath your hips. So it's like you're taking your sternum, that bone, closer over your chin. The head is relaxed, there's no weight on the head. Keep pushing those big toes into the mat. When you're ready, release the hands and drop the hips again. And take a breath. So if you like that, you can do that again, or you can do the first version. Or if you want, if you have a full wheel in your practice, you could do a full wheel, or you could see if you can grab hold of the ankles. Yeah, it's just, careful with your knees, honor your body. And maybe then you push in and inhale, lift your hips while you hold your ankles. Just a couple more breaths wherever you are. And then release. Go ahead and lower your hips. So take your arms out to the side and walk your feet to the edges of your mat and just windshield wiper your knees one more time. Inhaling through center, exhaling to the side, a few times. So preparing for the most important pose of all. And the whole point of all these motions is so that we are able to be still. So I think that, in some ways our 10 Commandments in the Christian tradition start out encouraging us to be who we were meant to be, and then teach us how to live with one another. And in the yoga tradition, it's the opposite. We learn how to live with ourselves and one another, and then get drawn closer to the divine. That's the whole point of the yoga practice. Learning how to be our true self. So Shavasana. If you're able to stretch your legs out completely in front of you, That's great. If not, keep them bent. Or you could put a pillow underneath your knees to help protect your low back. You could stick your legs on that chair. Try and tuck your shoulder blades together again. See if you can keep your palms facing up. And that's a way to receive all the good energy you've created. And now there's no more doing. You get to just be. If you have thoughts, let them float by like a cloud, out of your vision. Nothing else to do till you hear my voice again. So we get moving in the opposite way that we began. We began by warming the spine. Now I invite you to make some small motions with your fingers and your toes. Or maybe make a fist and then release it. So then I'm going to invite you to take your arms out to the side. And then take them and cross them over the front of your body. Like you're holding your opposite shoulder blades, giving yourself a big hug. Remembering that how you treat yourself is ultimately how you will treat everything else. And then releasing that, if you like, gently bend your knees. Eventually you want to roll to yourself to one side. So quietly, maybe even keeping your eyes closed, pushing yourself up to seated, just a nice easy seated pose. Perhaps how you began, or with your legs stretched out in front of you. Feel your spine nice and long. And bring your hands to your heart center. Inhale deeply. Exhaling, bow your head to your own heart. That mental pat in the back for showing up so that you can take care of yourself and be your best for those around you. Spirit in me honors your spirit in each of you. Namaste.